This is how I install rings on a piston. This is an SRP piston for a 302 Chevrolet out of a 69 Z28. It is a DZ motor, but most all automotive piston rings will be installed the same way. It's a 3-ring piston. It's got a 3-piece oil ring. I'll install that first. We start with the expander. It's got the gap. I'll put the gap straight towards me. I'm just holding this piston between my knees. The gap right there. There's different ways to do this. Most of them are valid. This is just the way I do it. I'll go to my bottom oil rail. I'll install it with the gap at about 3 o'clock. Come across the gap in the expander first, and then just pull it around, and it should slide and float real nicely there. Still see the gap. If you were to install that ring around the back first, you can have trouble with the expander trying to overlap itself. So when you put the oil rail on, always start over here and come towards the gap in the expander first, and then back around, rather than around the back side and then across the gap last. It will work better if you go across the gap first. So my top oil rail starts at 9 o'clock and comes back around. And now when you're done, this thing should float real nice and easy. If it's dragging pretty tight, doesn't want to move, well, then something's wrong. Okay, now I'll go to the second ring, which is just a plain cast iron ring. You need to look at the orientation of the ring. Some rings will go either way. Some rings have bevels that have to go a certain way. This ring has a dot. Dots always go up. This is a Hastings racing ring set, and I'm going to expand it with my ring expanding tool and use my hand here to keep it from falling out of the tool. Expand it just enough to get it around the piston, no more. This is a cast iron ring and it will break if you're not careful. Okay. You never want to spiral a cast iron ring on a piston. They will bend slightly, and they can also break. It won't bend much before they break, but you can tweak them. Okay. Now I'm going to install the top ring. Same thing, it's got a dot on it. We're going to dot up. Just wide enough to get it on into the groove. And now we're done. 2 dots, both dots are up. You'll notice on the top ring it has a plasma moly coating on the face of the ring, and the second ring's black. If you have a ring with this color on the outside of it, it's almost always the top ring. Now the last thing I'll do is turn one of these rings opposite the other. It really doesn't matter which. Just run my compression rings opposite each other. It could be 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock, 12 o'clock, or 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock. It doesn't make a lot of difference. I just run them 180 out from each other, and I'm not really concerned about where the oil ring gaps are either. From what I understand, these rings are going to start rotating as soon as you put this thing in the engine and start running it. The rings are not going to stay in the same place anyway. I'll start with them at 180 out from each other and call it good. And that's it. They should all float nicely in the grooves if everything's correct.